My name is Brian Lawler, and I am on the Koinonia committee, I guess is what we'll call it. I'm participating with the Koinonia group, and along with my wife and two daughters, we typically attend the 9 o'clock service. So, almost kind of a little bit, I don't know if it was out of the blue, but I was contacted by Sandra Bird, and she reached out and just said, we're embarking on this journey, this process. We don't really know what it is or where it's going to take us or what it's going to look like, but we're looking for people to come on board and who are willing to kind of take the time and take it seriously and be open to the process. It was certainly not something that I was familiar or really even, I guess, comfortable is not the right word, but it's just something that I was that was very different for me. I've been on boards and committees and sorts of things where you come in with a stated objective, and your job is to develop a plan of action to institute that plan. That is a very comfortable place to be. I think a lot of the people that when we got together, felt the same way in a lot of ways. And there was a lot of questions initially about what is our plan, where are we going, what is the purpose, so a lot of it was really initially was very, very difficult to sort of embrace the process as opposed to the product. So I guess I'll answer that question by saying that when my wife and I first joined All Souls about 10 or maybe 12 years ago, we were looking for a church community that complemented both of our religious histories and experiences, but at the same time was a community that recognized or that reflected our views on social justice and politics and community and all of those things. And so All Souls really embodied that in a lot of ways. And I think we were particularly struck at that time by All Souls embracing of the LGBTQ community. And so fast forward to this process, and I think what's been most exciting about it as it's evolved has been this church community coming back through this whole process and saying, we have tasked you with confronting an issue which is just as big and scary and hard and uncertain as it probably was in 1975 when we were thinking about same-sex relationships. And that was the church community coming to us and saying, we want you, of all the things that we recognize that are problematic in Asheville, almost North Carolina, all the things that could be confronted, we've decided as a church community that we want you to focus, you as a group, we want you to focus on racial and economic equity. And the fact that that is what percolated to the surface, I think was just inspiring. It was exciting. It was reflective of the community that my wife and I joined very intentionally, because then I think it's just amazing that's what came to the surface. So I think the involvement in this process, it's a hard question because we are trying to figure that out ourselves right now. We're trying to figure out how do we move this ball forward. And we are so open to anything. In fact, I think one of the things that has been particularly challenging for me has been this process revealed to me so many things that I actually don't know, and that I always thought maybe I did know. And it was just enlightening, sort of the scope of the issue or the scope of the problem, and recognizing that there's so much more I need to learn before I would even feel comfortable putting forth some sort of solution or some sort of effort And so I think I'd say on one hand, I want to impress to people to not feel intimidated by this big, audacious goal that the church community has set out for us. It is overwhelming, but it's exciting, and it can go in any direction, and it can go any which way. And I think that we're seeing that with some of the shorter term objectives that we're looking at, whether it be with Children First or with housing issues locally or whatnot. So I think we have to be able to grasp onto something, but it's an ever evolving process. So I would say twofold. One is bring your thoughts and ideas and energy and excitement to the table, because you're welcome, and we have no agenda. We're trying to figure out what that agenda is, and so we're excited and open to hear. Bring your own experiences, your own background and education, and then at the same time go out into this community and explore what the educational opportunities, the interactions, the experiences that you can in this community. We're not going to solve this issue sitting in a conference room. We're not going to solve this issue sitting in a library, sitting around a table just talking. We have to get out into the community. We have to invite the community members to the table to educate us, so that we can interact and participate with them. So go out and do those things, and then please come back and share those experiences with us, because we need to learn more. One of the committees that we have is going to city council and county commissioner meetings, and again, it's just those are things where we can take outward steps to learn more about our community, to hold our community leaders accountable, and then to bring those experiences back to the table. But I think the things that there's two that have specifically really stuck out to me, and with at the risk of sounding too cliche, I think the story of the Good Samaritan to me is something that always resonates and has stuck with me, and not because of necessarily the obvious of here we have a someone who is poor and disadvantaged and been stripped and is just asking for help. I think that's sort of the story on the surface. To me, that story really speaks to this person who represents all of the otherness in the world, and how easy it is to walk past because it is uncomfortable, because we don't know how to confront the issue, because we're scared. It's easy to project all of our own biases and stereotypes and fears and all of those things onto these people that are not like us. And so it's comfortable just to walk on past. And I think what this process did for me in a lot of ways, and part of why it made me so uncomfortable at times, was because it really forced me to stare that person in the face and to hear from them about their story, to hear about their challenges and obstacles and all the things that I have just been taking for granted for so long, and to really kind of stare that in the face. So to me, that story really speaks to that, because it's that otherness is anything. It can be economic disadvantage, it can be racial disadvantage, it can be gender disadvantage, it can be really anything, anything that we're really afraid of. And I think that's what, when Christ was answering the question of who do we love, and then goes to tell this story, the point is that we really have to love everyone, but really particularly those that probably make us the most uncomfortable. The second one kind of parallel is the parable of the mustard seed, and I think that again, when looking at this sort of big audacious goal that or challenge that the church community has put at us, I think it's hard, or it's very easy to just put it off and say it's too big, it's too scary, and I think to recognize that the kingdom of God can come from a mustard seed, from the smallest of places, I think is really inspiring. That it doesn't have to be, we're going to fix a huge generational shift in a couple of years. That's just ridiculous. But we have to start small somewhere. You have to plant that seed somewhere, and maybe in this effort that we are undertaking, we're a little mustard seed maybe that will will grow into something really amazing.